If you want to see my picks for holiday looks for 2020, then stick around. Hi there, it's Hélène, aka HMM Makeup, or Makeup. Welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome. I appreciate you popping by to check us out. I have 18 palettes here that give me holiday vibes, and I would like to show them to you and explain why, if it's not obvious, why I think that they give me holiday vibes, or not I think, why they give me holiday vibes. And they are in no particular order. In some cases I have some that are from a same brand that I've just grouped together, but they're not in a specific order from favorite to least favorite. I think it has to do with the type of event I'm going to and also what I might be wearing that day. And so I don't think there's a right or wrong reason. I'm just giving you an idea of what palettes make me feel like they are festive in nature and probably would get me kind of in the mood as I'm using it to go off and do whatever it is that is holiday related. I think that's enough of an intro. I think we should just go right into the palettes, and I keep looking there because they're all stacked right in front of me. Speaking of festive, I'm going to start with a festive palette, and it's called the Party Favor. I think it's got New Year's Eve written all over it. And it's a very small palette from Urban Decay, and one that I received in a mystery box. And I can tell you, I would not have purchased this palette. No question, I would not have purchased this palette. I thought it was kind of boring. But now that I have it and I've swatched it, I'll put the swatches right there, it's not boring at all. There's a lot of dimension in a number of the shadows, and I have to say, I really like Spaced. And then the two in the middle here, Sugar High and Long Night. I think that these are my favorites. I'm not huge on orangey colors, so that's why that one wasn't mentioned. But I think having 3 of the 6 pans in the palette drawing me in, and I have to admit, I like Neon Moon as well. It's a nice palette for doing a look and then wanting something really dramatic on the inner to 2/3 of the lid. Not that I ever like something dramatic there, right? Oh, by the way, if you want to see that, that is my second look with Quad of the Month. I'll put the Quad of the Month video right there for you. Yeah, I like it. I like it more than I thought I would, obviously, because I did not have any intention of buying it outright myself. The next one is because of the color story. I mean, it is indisputable that it is the color story that gives me Christmas vibes. And the looks that I make with this palette are extremely rich and deep and, well, frankly, sultry, because I'm usually using the kind of chocolatey brown. They're beautiful, and if I want to really amp up a look, then I will use Collision as a topper on whatever look I did with the other 3 shadows, and it really is a beautiful palette. I do believe it's been discontinued, although there's a, from Linda Hallberg or Hallberg, there is usually a quad available on her site, but even though this one is discontinued, the quads that have the metallics and the Enchanted secrets, kind of secret shadows, those are, I think, out of her whole line, the best, unless you're looking for strict matte basic powders for a basic conservative or classic eye look. The next one I'm going to show you is, I think, the most recent in my collection, most recent, as I look, most recent. It is the I Love palette from Sephora. It is a Sephora brand palette, and if you look at the jewel tones down here, how does that not give kind of Christmassy vibes? Especially these two, well, actually all three of them. And so I saw this palette and I thought, I have to have this palette, and actually it ended up being somewhat of an inspiration without me even knowing for Quad of the Month for December. But it's the greens and the orange and the kind of, not fuchsia, but burgundy kind of color here. This just gives me the sense that I can do Christmassy looks that are not in your face, bam, green. So jewel tones is the right name for this palette, because these really are jewel tones, and these are the ones that I really think about when I'm thinking of how this palette could be for a holiday look. And you can rest assured that you will see a look for sure before the end of the year with this palette, because I think that they did a great job. Now this one is in my holiday palettes because it's a holiday palette for Urban Decay this year, and it's the Stoned palette. So first off, the packaging, they hit it out of the park. It does make me think of some attempts with Smashbox for this kind of stuff. And the tones in here are very festive because of the nature of how they chose to press the colors. I think that it just really does give you jewel tone feels. Of course, a blue like that goes great with Christmas vibes. And so I'm kind of partial to it. I have to say this is probably one that I would wear at a Christmas do, but I wouldn't say no to the green. I have tried the green and liked it. It's just a very nice palette. I think it's nice to wear around the holidays. I think it would make a great gift during the holidays. It just has, by its very nature, holiday vibes. And this one is no different. And it's a holiday release, but it's very much holidays, winter, frost. It just gives me that kind of a feel. It's Pure and Barbie. It's their second collab, I believe. And even the front of the packaging, right? These are kind of snowflake designs, and the inside is no different. It gives me definite warm sweater, hot cocoa kind of vibes, and I really like what they did here. I have used the palette once, mostly with the shadows on the outside edge. And the triangles are the ones that I don't like all that much because the pans are very small, so it's hard to get a brush into the corners. But this center piece truly is a centerpiece. It is really what pulls the palette together. And what I like that they did with this palette is that they really did trios. If you look at these trios, they would be great to build a look around. And so I think that they did a great job in pairing colors next to each other. I say pairing, but in trios next to each other, so that you see some natural groupings in the palette. And it's a palette from this year, so I think it would make a great gift as well. If somebody likes Pure or has been interested in Pure, I think it's a neat palette to pick up this year. This is an older one, but a goodie. It's discontinued. It's the Pat McGrath, I forget the names all the time, Bronze Temptation eyeshadow palette. This is the palette from Pat McGrath that gives me holiday vibes the most by far. And it's the colors. Now let me just get rid of the plastic insert. How can you argue that this is not holiday vibes, right? The green, the kind of goldy celestial color, corruption right here shifts from kind of a bronze to a red, and then a couple of pretty decent mattes in there to pull it all together. I think they did a really great job with this palette. Did I give you the wrong names? Oh yeah, so this is Celestial up here. The ring light is telling me different. Celestial is up here, and then Provocatrix is down here, and that is another one that has a very interesting shift along with Corruption. I wore, actually, to tell you how much I think this is a holiday palette, last year I wore this palette to the holiday party, my husband's holiday party, and so yeah, that was the palette that I knew I had to put on my eyes, and I was really happy with the result. Next up, I think of this palette for party purposes because of the names of the shadows. It's the Stila Happy Hour palette. And when I think of a holiday event, of course, there's all these drinks available that you wouldn't necessarily go for all year. And this palette has a bunch of shadows with some really fun names. So we've got Gold Label, Top Shelf, Sangria, Sapphire Drizzle, Cosmo, Tiki Bar, Highball, On the Rocks, and then Old Fashioned Neat, Daiquiri, and Black Book. So it is really a bunch of names that kind of tell you that party vibes are in the air. And so when I do want a very glittery party eye, I do know that I can get it with this palette very easily. And these are these are my go-tos for the most part for the glitter that I'm looking for. And the mattes are very, very fine and nice to use. Blendable and all that stuff. So I really like this palette from Stila. And the packaging too, right? That is really nice packaging. It has a weight to it, kind of like the Pat McGrath palettes. I like the Stila packaging they chose for this collection. This one is one that I think a lot of people would agree gives holiday vibes, and it's the Naked Honey, just because of its gold cover. And it's the center, the three in the middle, that really give me the holiday vibes, because they are such rich colors that you know that you can make a beautiful, shiny eye that is still somewhat neutral colors with this palette. I mean, this is a joy to use. Joy. Spreading joy over the holidays. It's a joy to use, and you know you're going to end up with a nice look. It's a no-brainer for a holiday look. Now, I have to show this one for a couple of reasons. First off, there's the artwork on the box, gives me Christmas vibes for sure. And then on the inside, as I try to open the box, on the inside there are three colors that really, it's a quadrant, not a quadrant, a quad, that gives me the holiday vibes in this palette. So it's that luxe packaging from Pat McGrath. And tell me that these three, actually these four, do not give you Christmas vibes. So this one has a gold to green-ish shift. It's green, gold, and pink. So it has a three-way shift. This one is a nice kind of gold to dusty rose, I would say. And then, of course, there's this beautiful red color. And this one is kind of a bluish silver with some gold as well. They're very... They're quite multi-dimensional as far as there's just a lot to them. Now the red is just a straight red, but the other three have more of a shift to them. Let me just put them all on my fingers. I think you can see that they have a lot going on in that last quadrant. And so, not quadrant, quad, geez, I'm having trouble. So these are really what I'm thinking of when I think of this palette as being a holiday palette. Another one that I think is fantastic, and frankly, if I could show you the palette, I would. It's this one and the Cheers to the Beauty, both from Colored Raine, that I think are great, great holiday palettes. I'll put a video of the Cheers to the Beauty so that you can see what I'm talking about. Now, Cheers to the Beauty, unfortunately, was discontinued, but if you have it in your collection, I'm just suggesting you take a look, because there's a beautiful gold, green, red, beautiful blue that you can definitely use for holidays. And I'm thinking of this palette primarily for the red and the gold. Take a look at these, right? They are absolutely beautiful. And of course you could go with a very nice royal purple. The looks that you can make with this palette are definitely sultry or festive. There's no question that if I think of an important event, the Queen of Hearts comes to mind right away. And I mean, look at this packaging, right? How could you not think that that's kind of a special palette? It is by default. Now this next palette, similar to the Pat McGrath Mothership 5, is a palette that has a number of colors that make me think Christmas right away. And it's almost this entire center row. So we've got the deep greens, we've got some golds, we have a red up here that is beautiful, and then we have a few more that are really interesting. There's this one, and there's amazeballs down here that is definitely Christmassy. There's a lot going on here that just kind of speaks holiday to me. And when I think of this palette, I think automatically of the green, the red, and the golds and goldy yellow from this. It's Violet Voss Like a Boss. If I hadn't mentioned it, I was so excited to talk to you about it. I don't think I gave you much information. Violet Voss Like a Boss palette. It was the first Violet Voss I got, and it is the start of a beautiful relationship with Violet Voss. I also picked up the hashtag palette. Now, if you like golds, you will like this palette as a suggestion. And it is the Warrior palette by Juvia's Place. And I was not initially going to get this palette because I'm not big on neutral palettes, but I saw some looks that folks did with it. And I think that this whole column here would just do a very nice Christmassy look, festive look, because you've got the gold aspect, which I think anytime you do a gold look, it has a festive feel to it. Now I have two more from Juvia's Place. This is the Festival palette, and if you like reds and oranges, I think you might like to dip into this palette. I think of this top row, and then I think of the bottom corner as a nice festive look. Now, of course, you could use any color you like, but when I think of this palette, that's the kind of shadows I think of, and yeah, this one too. I can't help but love this color as well. It's just the shine just gets me. But the red, when I think of I want a Juvia's Place red, the festive palette red is the one that I think of, and of course, I think that they all have some sort of a either yellowy gold or orangey gold or taupey gold in their palettes. And I think that's good. You have an anchor color that you can use in a lot of looks, and the pans are very generous, so I don't see us running out of shadow too quickly when we use Juvia's Place shadows. This is the last Juvia's Place palette, and I would say the one with the most jewel tones, and it's the Nubian 2. And that was a palette that really intimidated me at the beginning, but I have come to love it. I did a fantastic look with this palette. It was just beautiful. I love these colors down here. So look at this color, this color, this color for Christmas. And of course, that requisite lighter color I was just talking about with the other palette. It has a lot of potential as a festival or holiday palette. And when I did a look with it, Layla and Egypt were an absolute must in the look, as was this one, and I forget what it is, Jezebel. Yeah, they were just absolute go-to, drew me in kind of shadows, and I do think that Egypt would be terrific on the outer lid, outer crease, lower lash line for a Christmas look. Even just these two with maybe a pop of this would make a beautiful holiday look. Now this next one is a favorite of mine, but there are two shadows in this palette that come to mind when I think of the holidays, and it's the Chloe Morello 2 by Ciate. And it's these guys. So this red up here, and well, actually I think this one, but it's really the two greens. So this one and the two greens down here make me think of the holidays. And then there's that really, really bright one, Platinum, that on the inner to center lid, if you've got like a New Year's Eve party or something, Platinum would just be bam. It would be such a hit of color. It would be beautiful. And it looks silver, but it's silver with this like a little bit of sky blue in it, and it's beautiful. And of course, if you want to go traditional kind of more goldy colors, you've got a couple up here, but really it's the Chartreuse and this, is it Morello? Oh, Violet color that give me that, oh sorry, wrong corner, this one and this one, that make me think of this palette for holiday, and then I open it up and then I start seeing, of course, as I just did, all sorts of other combinations. Now I have an ABH palette that gives me holiday vibes, and it might surprise you which one it is. It's the Jacky Aina palette, and the reason it gives me holiday vibes is the rich tones of this palette. So when I look at it, Wiggalese, Zam, Dwellas, and this one I never remember the name of, Sponsored, give me holiday vibes in a big, big way. The colors in this palette are very saturated, they're very rich, and I just would have no trouble making a look with any one of the ones that I talked to you about. And trust issues, just do a little look on it. Yeah, trust issues is to me a bit more of a topper, but of course you could incorporate that with any of the other suggestions I made there. I have 2 more to go. This next one is very new to my collection, and it is the Enchanted palette by Sigma Beauty. And the reason this one came to mind is because of these colors down here that are very festive, and particularly this one and this one for a holiday look. I think that there are some mattes that you can use to incorporate into a look, but the fact that there's this beautiful kind of browny green and then this very bold goldy color, I think give me the holiday vibes. But I'll admit as well that Metamorphosis, which is probably my favorite shadow in the palette, would also be a contender. The shimmery metallic goodness in some of the shadows in Enchanted, which is really the reason I got the palette. When I swatched this palette, I'll put the swatches right there, they were beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I have no regrets with this palette whatsoever, even if I'm not crazy about the mattes at the end of the right-hand side of the palette. And finally, I'm going to give you the one that, for personal reasons, I would say it really got my attention in a big way, and it is the Too Faced Chocolate Gold. And for a couple of reasons. So when we can have people, because this year we don't have any family coming to our place except for my stepdad, we make a chocolate fountain kind of centerpiece to the dessert area. And chocolate fountain has become just the typical thing that people expect when they come to our place for our turn to host a holiday party. And so to me, this reminds me of the chocolate fountain. And then of course the inside is very, very festive overall. Most of this palette has metallics or at least shimmer colors. These 2 down here have my heart. This one is a beautiful deep kind of royal purple. Of course you've got your gold bar, your silver. It's a beautiful palette. This one is kind of that platinum-like shadow that I talked about in a previous palette. And yeah, this one would really pop like crazy. And then if you want more of a neutral look, but you still want some interest, this is such a nice color. I forget the name of it. Classy and Sassy. There you go. It's a great color. Pretty much no matter what the event or celebration is, Classy and Sassy would look pretty darn good. Yeah, Drippin' Diamonds I did a look with on camera, and I was just... it's there. You cannot deny it is on your eye. But most of this palette, I'm looking at all the colors here, and there's no color in here that I would not consider as offering up some point of interest on the eye that would be kind of, could be celebratory in nature. So I think I'm ending on a good note with the Too Faced Chocolate Gold. So there you go, 18 palettes that give me holiday vibes out of my collection. Hopefully you have at least one of the palettes that I showed you today that is able to inspire you to go after those holiday vibes, whether you can meet with family and friends or not. I suspect not. That seems to be the universal answer these days for obvious reasons. However you're celebrating though this year, I wish you great eyeshadow looks and of course fabulous time with the friends and family that you can be close to and that you can connect with your extended friends and family wherever they might be on this little planet of ours. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it every single time. You know that. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But for now, take care.